So you, all right, I'm just going to say, actually, yeah, why don't you just start with what happened?
So I was in my flight from Chicago, obviously coming to Iowa, and then I get to my overpass, and I'm just there, and I see this guy sitting on a chair with a big old boots, and I'm like, who's this guy? He looks familiar. And then I was like, oh wait, that's Rick Santorum. So I saw him, and I was like, should I take a picture? Should I not? Then I just went and sat down for a little bit, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna have a conversation with him. So I went up and talked to him, and I was like, hey, what's you're Rick Santorum? And he's like, yeah. How are you? What's your name? So I was like, Marco, just he's like, he asked me, where are you going? I was like, well, I'm going to Iowa to visit with some friends. And I was like, what are you doing? He's like, well, I'm going to Iowa as well. And then we started talking. I was like, so what's the deal with the Hispanics? Why is the Republicans not reaching out to the Hispanic community? And he's like, well, what do you think we should do to outreach the Hispanic community? So we're like, well, first of all, you have to deliver something for us, right? You can't just like say, oh, you just give me your vote, I'm going to deport your family. You have to, come up with some agenda or something that, can give our community. And he's like, yeah, I think it's a fair shot. So anyways, to reiterate, he was just there, and then he was a really nice guy, not an arrogant. And he was just having a really good conversation. And then I was like, what are you doing about immigration? That could be one of the possibilities that you can actually help the Hispanics. And he's like, well, I'm against bringing a lot of people here. And then he comes up with this, I'm against legal migration. And I'm like, wait a minute, legal migration? Like, he's like, yeah, the wages are decreasing because, a lot of people are coming legally here. And I'm like, okay, well, what about the undocumented families? Because some families are, mixed status families. And he's like, well, I think we should take care of that, to ensure that our country has our laws and we can follow them, and of course they run around with the rule of law and all these other talking points that they have. But yeah, pretty much that was it.
And you both were there?
There was two encounters. One with him alone before they had boarded the flight or after they boarded the flight, and then the second time was I boarded off my flight, or I got off my flight and I went to meet him in baggage claim, and then I noticed that Rick Santorum was still around there, so I figured let's chat with him and find out what he is thinking is on immigration. So I went up to him. Marco was willing to take a picture for us, and then when I was in the middle of the picture, I told him, hey, I'm actually undocumented and my family's undocumented, and I did want to discuss with you about immigration and what your thoughts on it are. So he gave the whole speech on, well, we shouldn't be rewarding people for coming in illegally, we shouldn't be giving an incentive for other people to come in, but I did try to bring it back to the fact that, what do we do with the people that are already here, undocumented? And Marco brought up a very good question. He was like, so what do you think about the executive order that President Obama did with deferred action for childhood arrivals and DAPA for our parents? And he said he's against it because he doesn't believe the president should enforce administrative priorities, essentially. He tried to say he was breaking the law. But then I brought up to him that, I'm one of the people that qualified under deferred action, that I'm able to be here in this country right now, I'm able to get my scholarship and go to college because of deferred action. And then what would he want to do with me if I lost that deferred action? Which I think then that's what pushed him a little bit more in saying, well, maybe there is going to be, moving forward, maybe one of the fixes, part of the fixes would be that, and you have to go back to your home country and then come back legally, which I brought up was, well, there's a 10-year bar. There's not realistic, it's not a realistic possibility. And then he said, he offered a solution in terms of, well, we could do a waiver, we could do something where you could come back right away and apply, which is definitely a big step up. That's essentially him endorsing some pathway towards legalization, because waivers and such is something that the administration currently already does, and DHS already does, and USCIS does. So, I mean, it was a good, friendly discussion. It was amicable. We talked for about 5 minutes, shared a little bit of my story. Marco also brought in a lot of good questions, and we talked about the executive order and immigration reform.
And where's the video?
Technical difficulties.
Technical difficulties. Let's leave it at that.
All right.